Hello, I'm Gil Cates Jr., the director of Lucky.
Should I introduce myself? Hi, I'm Ari Graynor, one of the actors in Lucky. I was really attracted to Lucky because it was such a unique story, and especially the character of Lucy that I get to play is such... she really got to be a creation. You know, she was unique and fun and weird and dark and loving and manipulative and all these things on paper. So it was really exciting as an actor to figure out how to make her come to life. And that was the most exciting challenge for me. You know, for me, the biggest thing about her was doing work before I got there to make sure that she was really grounded and that I really knew who she was. And I actually did this sort of acting technique called dream work I did about that sort of uses your dreams and the material that you're working on in a way to sort of discover how you are similar to the character and where the character sort of lies within yourself. And I had done that before I went, and that was actually really informative for me to understand her in a very internal way, especially because she goes through such crazy, outlandish things in the movie. I wanted to make sure that for me it came from a place of understanding and of grounding. So that was kind of the first step. And then sort of once that happened, I really knew who she was. I felt really free to play around, and that's what was so amazing about working with Gil, was this great collaboration of him being on top of me about stuff and keeping it really tone specific and in line with the story, but also trusting me to kind of like, you know, be sort of out there in these choices. And I think that was one of the really exciting things about working together.
I think understanding actors and being just someone who appreciates acting and actors so much, and that was one of the great things about this film with the cast, with Ari and with Colin and Anne Margaret and Jeffrey Tambor, is they're all real actors. They're not personalities. They actually really, you know, do their homework, and I think they all wanted to do the script or be a part of the movie because of the material. So that was really exciting. And in terms of myself coming from the theater, I just related to that. I was a theater major as opposed to a film major, and I feel like character work is really ultimately the most important. And technically, you can always learn and take a course or a class, but I feel like understanding human nature and just everything that theater has to offer is important when working with very talented people like Ari. It was great. I mean, Colin is the great thing about Colin, and I think in this role is that he's not a typically menacing. I didn't know Colin before this, but meeting him, he's not a typically menacing person. And this part has some darker elements to it. So I think he just naturally brought such a likability to the role. And like Ari, he's just a trained actor, had done a lot of theater, a lot of film. And so I loved working with Colin, and I think Ari did too.
Well, that's awfully presumptuous. No, Colin and I hit it off right away, and it was funny because we became really, really good friends, and his fiance, now wife, at the time was there a lot, and I adored her, and we had this sort of funny joke that we had. There was like one scene where we had to make sweet, sweet love, and we both...
What was the name? It was like... There was on the set that there was like
right.
There was like a weird code name, like therapy, or like I don't know what the word was. You know what I'm talking about though?
Yes.
There was
Oh my God, I totally.
I'll
that's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah,
I'll have to think of what that was. But the joke was that that we had, and I think it really worked with the characters of like no sexual tension in the best way possible. Like we just loved each other as friends so much that when it got to the day where we were gonna like have to kiss and have fake sex, that we just sort of looked at each other like, oh no, how are we ever going to get through this? And we ended up drinking a bottle of wine. And it's funny now watching the scene because it's the scene where we're sitting in our bedroom and then, things happen and I'm watching TV. But it's funny because I can see in the beginning of that scene right when that wine hit, we were just like a little bit tipsy in the beginning. And by the time we actually got to the rest of it, we had sort of sobered up. But he's a gem, and he's so talented. And it was so exciting to do something with somebody, because so much of it was the two of us, and that we just had such a wonderful time together. And we were like, all in Iowa together. And, Iowa ended up being such a magical, wonderful place because we were all there having such a good time.
Absolutely, and the fact that they got along so well really helped, I think, so much in the movie, and I think you were even more comfortable, if you weren't already, to just do everything that you were doing because they just trusted each other so much and got along so well. So it was really awesome. I was so happy to see it that they got along so well. It's like 90% of it was like done. Like, great, that's, I can just come in and tweak now. I wish I could recast Ari. Just like, I think if I could have gotten somebody like
talent,
just talented and funny, because that just is not well, I'll go first since I started that rampage. I'm really proud that tonally, it's just not a film that you can just like, hey, we're just going to go make this movie, and just the way that everybody kind of got on board and executed it and felt comfortable, because it is a dark comedy, and dark comedies require, you really have to think about things. Each scene, if one scene's a little too over the top and then the other scene is very dry, and finding that balance. So I'm just really proud that everybody seemed to be on board, and with the way it all came together. And I try not to look at the regrets. You always look back, oh, if I had an extra hour to do this take, oh, if I, this scene we could have done. There's always those things, but I think for the most part, the film as a whole does what I wanted it to do, what we all wanted it to do. So sure, I could find things that I would have changed, but I don't know if it would have changed the feeling that you have at the end of the day either way.
Yeah, I feel really proud of the fact that everyone really went for it. I feel like this is a movie that, whether you like it or not, no one can say we didn't go for it.
That is true.
You know what I mean? And I feel like when you're making a movie, or you're creating a painting, or you're writing a song, that it's if you're doing it for the right reasons, which is that you're expressing something and you're creating something, and you're taking a risk in the best way. And it was really exciting to be a part of something where everyone just sort of threw caution to the wind and took this weird, crazy story and made these characters and created this world. And I feel really proud of that for all of us, and for myself jumping in with her as well, because she's certainly the most sort of outlandish character I had ever played. And sometimes I feel like my acting was a little facey. Like, I could have toned down some of the facial expressions, but you live and you learn.
Like I said, there's one scene in particular that I'm really proud of, because you were doing outdoors, and you were doing great as usual. And then there was one I was like, can you just go for it? Because it was tough to find that line, and you went. I just said, just do this one over the top, whatever that is to you. And then you did it, and that's the one we used. And it was the scene where you're outside, and when you're coming back all dirty, and you're explaining, it's crazy, it's great, that whole scene. I don't know if you remember that, and that was like the best. So I think that's what's interesting about it, is I know that you felt that way sometimes, but hopefully, the final result, I think everyone will see a kind of an even performance.
Very character driven.
Or very not even in many ways, but yeah, very character driven. Very character driven. The film's website is www.theluckymovie.com. It might change. Yeah. We just landed a distribution deal. We just got picked up, so thank you very much. So I think it's going to stay theluckymovie.com, and there might be a dash in there somewhere. So I wish I had. Maybe I should go text someone about that. It's a great question. But yeah, theluckymovie.com, or eventually through phase4films.com.